Hi, Elle. I'm so happy that I get to talk to you again. It's always a
Yes,
pleasure to talk to you. And I'm super excited about our little conversation that we'll have today, where you tell us a little bit about your own journey from cooking, meal planning, where you're now. And I'm super excited to dive in and listen to what you have to say. So,
fabulous. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Al, tell me a little bit about how was meals and meal planning, and this whole topic of like how you came to eat. How was this before you came across my meal planning service? Like, what did you do to have your meals on
Yeah.
the table?
So here was the difference for me. When I enrolled with your meal plan, we had moved to a new place. So in our old house, we had a vegetable garden. I had my own herb garden. And so I was used to just walking out and picking stuff and creating. So I purchased a CSA at a farm just down the road from me. I actually can walk to it and once a week get things. But in the winter time, like it was a summer CSA with a little bit in the fall and winter, but then there'd be these months without anything. And I had, I know you worked with me, and I'm like, oh, there's someone that I know can make some changes for us. And so I decided, I guess to preface, I don't have any like allergies to food or anything. I seem to have one of those, just I can eat anything. My husband has a few, like he can't eat green peppers, just certain allergies, a few, but in general, we didn't have any of that as a couple. And so and we always cooked. I should preface that too. So we didn't we go on the outer aisles of the supermarket, and I have friends that don't do that. Like they get frozen stuff and processed food for their kids and their families. And so that really wasn't us. And so I was intrigued because you were going to supply me with an actual shopping list. And I'd be able to take that shopping list and maybe not do it completely religiously, but move some of that into what I was already doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I love that you have used it so creatively because, it's not a rigid plan to follow. So I love that you said, hey, I make this my own and make it work for me.
Yeah, yeah. So I started you gave me a little teaser in December, and then we started for real in January. Um, and I made my shopping list and I included the things that you had for me. And I immediately started employing those meal plans, those recipes, in with what I was already doing in whatever, was working, especially the evening meal was a big one. And I loved also how your meal planning, like you'll make an evening meal and then you'll have this left over to make this with this. So I'm a really frugal person, and that just really matched my want to make sure that I'm using my resources wisely. And I think that was something you had shared with me, is that in the end, you'll probably end up saving money because you're actually planning ahead. So getting in the habit of doing some of that planning is really fantastic for people. I really recommend, that's something the plan helps you start to do. So you're really kind of more on top of what you're eating and on top of your planning for the week. So that was definitely a plus. Um, can I share some of the things that like are the biggest changes? The
Of
things.
course. Yes,
Okay.
I love to hear that.
So and I have some kind of cool cookbooks too. So I make a lot of salads. So the salad part was all easy for me because I do that already, and I make some cool salads, and I'm kind of known for that. Like my daughter-in-law, she's like, "What? Bring a great salad if I'm coming over for lunch or dinner or something." Um, but the meal that changed our lives the most, that you have in different variations throughout the meal plan, was I would take a large glass, what do you call Pyrex,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
for
those containers. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I would put a little bit of either grapeseed oil or the high cooking olive oil, fish, whatever protein I wanted to use, and I would put that in there. And then depending on the kind of, if it was fish, I'd use lighter vegetables like green beans, tomatoes, garlic, onions. And I just chop that all up and lay that in per your, following. At first I was just following exactly what you did. And now I just mix it all up all kinds of ways, but, and bake it, set it in the middle of the table with a salad. And it is like fantastic. That is probably, I probably make a meal like that at least 3 times a week now.
Yeah. Would you say that it saves you time?
Oh my gosh, so much time. You really don't have to think, because you get in the habit through the meal plan of buying certain vegetables, of having certain things, and you just have gotten in that shopping habit. So now you just have that. And like, I'll just think, oh yeah, it's going to be wild caught salmon and beans and little mini tomatoes with some onions and garlic chopped in and fresh herbs. So I do an herb share in my CSA too. And I dry them just like I used to in my own garden. So that works really well for me. But that meal alone changed so much for me. And I wanted to come on here too, Pamela, because I went through Dr. Amen's brain health certification program last year. And he talks a lot about what you're feeding your brain. Your meal plan has a lot of similarities to what he shares about what the brain really can't handle.
Yes.
And I've gotten even more strict with a lot of that. So one of the things is no bread, no dough, like nothing doughy whatsoever in his, in the way he talks about it. And so your meal plan, when I made the next jump of really eliminating dough, was so helpful, because it was like a stepping stone. And if you look like in the meal plan, you're not buying any bread.
That's true. That's on purpose, and
You're
it's
not
not
buying
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I used to bake all of my own bread when I was younger. And I really enjoyed bread. So I had to start to kind of open up to just not having it. But when I took the brain certification course and I learned what it did to my brain, it just clicked. It really clicked. And I'm not a total purist. Occasionally I'll have bread in the house. It seems like when the cold weather just hit, I was wanting it,
Yeah.
So it's interesting with seasons. Also, your meal plan goes with seasons too. So
yes, it does.
That's beautiful and really helpful as you're planning. So those were the biggest takeaways. And I had to bring this out because I put it in a binder. So I would print out the meal plan and I'd have it in the binder. And then when I was going shopping, I'd just like open it up and I would take a picture of the shopping list and just have it on my phone when I went. So yeah, it's all in here.
Aw,
And
that's amazing. You're so organized, Elle. I love that.
if I'm not, things get a little chaotic. So I really, I can't say enough about it. It definitely changed the way we eat and what we're putting into our bodies to serve not just our body, but also our brain.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that part. We think about it in terms of alcohol or sugar, but also foods. Foods have a really big impact on our brain, and learning all of that and incorporating into what you shared with me, just really powerful. And I didn't do private coaching with you. So I actually recommended you to my son, who just came back with some tests of some food sensitivities. And so he really, in 2022, he wants to clean it all up. And he invests in himself and he invested in your coaching program, which is a step above the meal plan. Like the meal plan is one thing, right?
Yes.
And then having you privately coach him, and he is so excited. Like he loves that you're going to be tough with him. He loves that you're going to share with him what will be life-changing for the rest of his life. And so I don't know what you did in that strategy call with him, Pamela, but you really convinced him of the importance of this, and as his mother, I want that for him. My son's going to be 30 this year. He's been on his own for years. And, he loves coming over here because I make beautiful food. And he's got a very intense lifestyle. He owns his own business with my other son. So I think it really speaks volumes that speaking with you, he's excited to learn how to make meals for himself. He's excited to be empowered to do that. And I think I've told you, like in the past, he's hired people to cook for him. So even if he doesn't choose to cook for himself in the future, he can share the meal plans with and hire someone to do it. But I think it's cool that he wants to dig in and do this himself. So
no, that's so important that you say this. The beauty about the meal plans are that you can really make them your own. And even if you cook it yourself or you ask someone to cook it for you, the importance is that you eat like these types of nourishing foods. And that's really what I want for you. And how you get there, it has lots of wiggle room to make it your own. It's nothing that it's rigid. It's nothing that you need to follow to a T. This is really meant to elevate from where you are to where you want to go in terms of your health, in terms of your lifestyle. And the knowledge that you gain from how to structure this and how to, like choose the foods that are in season, that is really knowledge that you will keep for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing to note is how the body reacts pretty quickly to you making changes. And like I said, I've eaten pretty well my entire life. It's been a very important part of my life as a former athlete, as a performance coach. Diet is very important. And so you just took me from here to here. And then incorporating the brain health thing into it was like, oh, wow, now I have even more reason. I guess I'm kind of one of those why people, like, why shouldn't I eat this? Like, what is this doing? In fact, I just have to share this because I don't know if you met this, one of the people, we were in a mastermind together, you and I, and one of the people was a dentist from Australia who's a naturopath dentist. And she shared with me why you don't want to eat sugar for your teeth. It's not just about cavities. This was so fascinating, but there's a flow of nutrients that goes through the tooth to come out to your outer part of your tooth. When sugar hits your tooth, that flow stops and actually reverses.
That's amazing.
So, what's your inspiration, or what is your motivation? I would say, like, what is your motivation for you to want to make a change? Do you have a food sensitivity? Do you have a disease? Do you have issues that food can make a difference? Food it's your fuel. And in my coaching, I have this little thing called the food for fuel formula. It's not even so much what you eat, but how you eat it and what you're doing as a part of all of it. And because it's just amazing what just a little change can do. And then you're setting yourself on a different trajectory. And I think that's what your meal plan really can do for people, is open their eyes to these possibilities. And like your switches, I had you on one of my conferences. Do you remember how you said, like, if you like crispy, salty, and you gave the chickpea recipe?
Yes.
Just a little switch. You don't have to tell people what they're eating. You just, hey, here's a little snack. Oh, this is delicious. And it's interesting. Gosh, where was I? I was with someone last night who said that they witnessed a mother who the child put something in their mouth and it had a little bit of a bitter taste, and she made a little bit of a face, and the mom goes, oh, that's yucky, huh? Like, so we were talking about, you don't need to label it. You could say, oh, that's a little different tasting, isn't it? Or to encourage people to try things. And yeah, I was on a call with Hugh and another person. We were sharing about this. And my son says, do you remember the time you made the boy cry because you made him eat his vegetables at our table? he was 6 years old. I'm like, I thought he was trying to get out of not eating his vegetables because he's at a friend's house. And I'm like, no, we all eat our vegetables around here. So
Yeah, nice.
try. But
Yeah.
it's funny how people get into those habits with their kids. And I think, I mean, you're a mother and you know the importance of that and this and how hard it can be sometimes because there's so many influences. But it really is important. It's the building block for so much of your health and well-being. Food is.
Yes. So what would you say to someone who's considering or debating whether this is something to try out? What would you say to this person?
First of all, I would know that if they just got on a call with you to learn more about it, that you're going to really be there for them to really understand what it is that they want to have happen. The thing that I notice in my own coaching, because I'm a high performance coach, is that people will buy things before they'll invest in themselves. So you'll go out and get a brand new car and think that's going to make you happy, but meanwhile you have colitis. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
So if you feel this kind of hesitation or you're on the fence about doing something that's going to be an investment in yourself, I would say get off the fence. The fence is prickly, it hurts, and you're spending your money on other things already. So it's like, what if you made an investment in learning something that's going to, I use this phrase a lot, pay dividends for the rest of your life?
Yes.
Extend your life. Extend your life. And we're talking about quality life, not life where you had to have a hip replacement and 2 knee replacements and you can't digest anything very well and you're constantly on the toilet life, you know, but quality life. And so many times when I'm working with people, it's like, what is not knowing this costing you? If you've tried before also to improve your diet and failed, we go like this, we have some success, and then we go back into the old patterns. Having someone like you as a coach helping them, it's like, and when you put some money in, you've got skin in the game, you're like, okay, I guess I better sort of do this, right? That would be me every time I got your monthly meal plan. I'm like, oh yeah, right? Like, you just re-up it a little bit because, you know, you're investing, and what we spend money on, we place a value on.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that. That is so important.
It really is. If you want to know what you value, there's a couple things you can do. What are you spending your money on? What do you surround yourself with? You know, and what do you spend your time doing? That clues you into what it is you value. Like if you're a parent and you spend all your time making money and you're not with your children, then that's where your value is.
Yeah.
You need to switch something. And I think that's what I see sometimes with people who are thinking about making an investment that's going to help them. And sometimes for people, especially parents, they'll put everybody else ahead of them.
Yes, very common, very common.
Yeah.
Everybody else comes first. And if there's time, then I look at me, but there's never time. So, you know, it waits till maybe the kids are out of the house. And, you know, that's maybe 10, 20 years down the road. And a lot can happen during that time, you know, as we know.
And with these meal plans, you're making them for you and your whole family.
Absolutely. So you can incorporate it into your busy life.
Yeah, this is a transformation, not just for you, but for whomever is living with you, if you're the cook in the house.
Yes.
No matter
and
who
I love that we have a choice, right? We have a choice to either walk that walk or not, you know, and the consequences will come depending on how we choose.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, it's kind of sneaky too, because our digestive system is so amazing. It can take a lot of abuse.
Yes.
And so, you know, I talk about, I'm a stress coach. So stress is a silent killer. Same thing with bad foods. Like it creeps up on you. You're doing just great, and then you hit your 30s or you hit your 60s. You hit a point and your systems are saying, I can't deal with any more crap. So now you have osteoporosis, or now you have Hashimoto's, or now you have, like, you have something.
Yes.
You know, because it is sneaky and it's
Yes.
perpetual. And I think that that's something that we just don't think about, because our habits and our routines are just so ingrained. This is what we
Yes.
eat. This is how we eat. And so you've made a huge impact on our family, on what I serve here when people come over, when it's just me and my husband. You've made a huge, huge difference in how quickly I can put a meal on the table. And I mean, when you do that little glass pan meal, it is so quick to prepare, and you stick it in, you got 25 or 40 minutes, depending on what the protein is. And then you can go off and do something else, and it's all ready. Or add a salad. You know, you don't even have to add the salad if you don't want. You've got vegetables and your protein in there. And yeah, I love it. I really love it.
Thank you so much, Elle. That was very insightful, and I'm very happy that you were willing to share your experience here today. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're so welcome.